Hello everyone, this is Ibrahim and I have put together another update on my progress with Europa Explorer. This time around I've been working on the world and adding creatures and ways to interact with them. This includes a new upgrade system for the probe and some back-end updates. Let me start by introducing the Flare Launcher. The Flare Launcher is a new secondary tool that is activated with Shift+5. When active, an ammo widget is displayed above the secondary tool icons. Each column represents one batch of ammo and each batch contains 5 rounds. You can switch between the active ammo batch using the T and Y buttons. Like the other secondary tools, you activate the system with a right click, which fires one round from the active ammo stack in the direction of the mouse cursor. The computer calculates the launch force so that the flare does not impact terrain. The Flare Launcher was an early idea that was scrapped, but I decided to bring it back when I started developing creatures to give the player another way to interact with them. I chose this setup of ammo stacks because you will later gain the ability to reload the Flare Launcher with alternate types of ammo. When you begin the game, the system will be loaded with only standard magnesium flares that light up a small area. The upgrade system is another new feature that I have worked on. As the game progresses and you discover more things about the ocean, you will get software upgrades sent from Earth that will add new capabilities to the systems on board the probe. The F4 key now activates a new debugging feature that unlocks all these probe software upgrades for testing purposes. Currently, this includes a new tool mode for the laser spectrometer, Overdrive mode, and a new tool mode for the sample collection suite, creature capture mode. The F4 key also reloads the Flare Launcher with all the alternate ammo types so that they can be tested as well. Currently this includes a food pellet and a shockwave round. I have a long list of ideas for more probe upgrades that I will introduce in future updates. Now let's talk about the creatures. I tried to make the creature system robust enough so that I will be able to have a good variety of creatures without taking forever to develop. As it works right now, creatures will randomly path between set waypoints on the map unless they are triggered to do something different. They have 4 different behaviors: attraction, fear, stun, and wounded. Internally, each of these behaviors is defined as a list, so creatures can have multiple things that cause each of these responses. When a creature approaches something that it is attracted to, it will break from its normal waypoint pathing and path around that object instead. For example, the little tadpole creatures I've been using to develop the system are attracted to the food pellets from the Flare Launcher. When a creature approaches something that causes it fear, it will attempt to find a waypoint in the opposite direction of the object and run away at a high speed. These tadpole creatures are set to be afraid of the probe, so they run away when they get close. Currently, attractions are more powerful than fears, but that may change. Creatures can also be stunned by some things. Our little tadpole friend is stunned by the shockwave rounds fired by the Flare Launcher. We could use the food pellet to gather up a few into a group and then use a shockwave round to stun them. You may be wondering what the point of stunning these little guys is. Well, when they are swimming around and running away, it's kind of hard to collect a sample. I debated for a long time about including this, but I want to make people think about the moral question of how we will study alien life when we find it on other planets. For now, you just use the standard sample collection arm on one of the creatures if it is stunned, and it will tear off a piece of flesh, causing a wound. The wounded creature immediately wakes up, flees, and leaves behind a small cloud of blood in the water. Creatures that are wounded will never stop fleeing. In terms of game mechanics, when they find their way far enough off screen, they will despawn. This will trigger an eventual respawn of the same type of creature so that the number of creatures in the world remains even. The upgraded sample collection suite gives you the ability to capture small creatures like our tadpole friend. This also requires that the creature be stunned first. Captured creatures are placed into the material collection bays where they can be carried back to the home base, or you can release them by clicking on the icon in the material tray. There will be more things you can do with them once I add the processing lab to the home base. The upgraded laser spectrometer mode pushes the laser to its limits and lets you free target anything in the world. This will be useful to clear terrain obstructions and scare away some larger creatures that will be added later on. If you use it on the tadpole, it will just cause a wound. Creatures are also detected by the sonar system. Sonar pulses will rebound off the creatures and get picked up by the probe sensors. These will fill in the minimap as green blips that will only stay for a short time. The routine that performs all the creature behaviors ended up being pretty complex, so I decided to implement it as a cycled list, similar to how I am doing the area reveals now. Instead of trying to update every creature on a specific interval, like 10 times a second, I am instead putting all the creatures onto a list and every frame going down that list and doing a couple at a time. This should allow me to scale up and have hundreds of creatures in the world at once without bogging down the CPU. When it came to working on the blood effect, I revisited the entire current system. I reworked the current concentrations so that they now respect debug mode and are more event driven. The concentrations may now also be visible in the background. I have two emitters set up here, and with debug mode you can see how they work. Water samples will now also capture material from current concentrations in the area. It's not something you can see, but I finished transitioning all the functions to a new system introduced by the engine, which will improve performance. I also discovered a problem with how I was doing the menu buttons that caused me to have to rework all the pop-up menus. And I think that pretty much wraps it up for this update. I have a bunch of stuff unfinished and half finished or just not working right now, so I'm going to hold off on putting out another public alpha build this time around. I will see you again in a couple weeks, and I will have a new playable version then. I am posting updates to Twitter throughout the week, and you can join the Discord to keep up with news about the project. See you next time, and thanks for watching.